Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So today's video is something I've never done on this channel, but I've wanted to do for so long, but never have. And I thought now would be the perfect time to do that. So before I start, this is going to be a lot to talk about. So I've made like a little notes page of everything that I want to talk about. So yeah, if you see me just like looking at my laptop to talk, that is why. So yeah. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the show history behind Bonnie and Clyde. So this is something that I've wanted to do for a while. I thought, you know what? I'm going to kick it off with my favourite musical, because why not? So I'm probably going to do my top 10 favourite shows, but if you guys want a certain musical show history talk about, then comment it down below, message me on Instagram, message me on Twitter, message me on whatever, and I will happily oblige. But yeah, this is going to be kind of like a weekly series, I want to say. So yeah. And I know a lot of you are thinking this, and because the past 2 years have gone to absolute shit, no, I will not be doing Videomas, because I never stick to it, mainly for personal reasons. But yeah. Anyway, let's get on with it, because this is a lot to talk about. Okay, so first things first, let's actually talk about what Bonnie and Clyde is. So, let's talk about the plot. So, a lot of you may know that Bonnie and Clyde were infamous outlaws back in the Great Depression. And they went around killing people, robbing banks, etc., etc. And a lot of them, called them heroes, if that's what you want to say. But, personally, I think they were little shits. But yeah, I'm gonna obviously talk about everything behind it, how the show came about, stuff like that. So, Bonnie and Clyde is obviously a musical, and it's got music by Frank Wildhorn, lyrics by Don Black, and a book by Ivan Menschel. So, they're like the main creative team, but I will get on to like the directors and stuff, because there's been different directors for different productions. Thank you for that, Gizmo. But yeah, there's been like different directors for different productions. So like when it came to the UK, it was Nick Winston who directed it, and Dan Looney was the producer, and they are set to direct it again next year. Buzzing about it. Whoa, I get my favourite show back. Bloody hell. Anyway. Yeah. So, there's just a bit about the creatives. So, let's get on to the actual history of the show. So, the world premiere of Bonnie and Clyde took place in La Jolla, I want to say, or Jolla. Is it Jolla or Jolla? It's one of them. In California in November of 2009. So, obviously, the musical centres around Clyde Barrow and Bonnie Parker. The ill-fated lovers. Everyone refers them to Romeo and Juliet, but they're nothing like Romeo and Juliet. Well, they kind of are, but in a criminal sense, if that makes any sense whatsoever. And it just like basically follows their story about the outlaws and the story behind them, and how they became like a folk hero, as you want to call it, during the Great Depression in the 1930s. So, in an interview back in 2009, Frank Wildhorn actually described the music as a non-traditional score, because it was basically like combining blues and gospel music together. So yeah, it premiered in La Jolla with Laura Osnes and Stark Sands in the roles of Bonnie and Clyde. So this is where I'm going to settle a debate, because a lot of people get confused with this. So a lot of people refer Bonnie and Clyde to Jeremy Jordan and Laura Osnes. Jeremy Jordan actually never originated the role of Clyde, and everybody thinks that he did, but he didn't. It was Stark Sands, because he was in the world premiere of this show back in 2009 when it was in California. And then Stark left and Jeremy came in, which I will get into. So, hold on, my laptop's been an absolute pain in my backside. So yeah, the musical was written, and it began previews on the 10th of November 2009 in La Jolla, and then it had an opening night on the 22nd of November 2009, and then that finished its run on the 20th of December, and surprisingly, it only had 15 previews and 33 regular performances whilst it was in California. But yeah, that's pretty much it. But there was also awards won during the 2009 production of it. It won 5 major San Diego Theatre Critics Circle Awards. I can't remember the categories for it, but I think it was Best New Musical, Best Performer in a Musical, and Best Score, I think, and I can't remember the other 2. Again, I don't know. I do not know. So, now we get into where Jeremy Jordan came into it. So, after the success of the California run, it then went to Florida, and that went to not California, Zoe, you've just talked about California. That went to Florida in November of 2010, so exactly a year later. But previews began on the 12th of November, and then it fully opened on the 19th of November. And then that run, it ran for 8 previews and 36 regular performances through to the 19th of December. And then Stark Sands didn't do the Florida run, and then that's where Jeremy Jordan comes into it. And then there was, whilst this run was going on, there was talks about it going to Broadway, but they wasn't sure whether it was going to go to Broadway. Like, it was still in the working, if that makes sense. Like, there was still working around the score, around the lyrics. Though that's what the score is. I'm filming this very late. I am sleep deprived, but we move. Anyway. So, there was still some major work to be done on this show, because later on in the video, I'm going to talk about cuts that was made and stuff like that, and talk about songs, etc, etc. So, anyway, the show closed in Florida on the 19th of December, like I just said, and then it was actually confirmed that it was going to go to Broadway. Now, personally, this is where it all just goes. I think everyone knows the story behind the unsuccessful Broadway run. So it moved to Broadway after it being successful in Florida and California. And yeah, it made its big Broadway debut. So previews began again a year later, but on the 4th of November 2011. And I hope I'm saying this theatre right, because I can never pronounce this correctly. The Gerald Sconfeld. We'll debate that later. But yeah, you all know what I mean. And then that had its official opening on December 1st, 2011. And that, it had 33 previews. So, again, Jeremy Jordan and Laura Osnes reprised their roles as Bonnie and Clyde, and so on and so forth. Like, quite a lot of the original cast was still with the show at this point. I'm gonna say her name wrong. I know I am. Melissa Van der Scherf, I think. I know I've said that wrong. She played Blanche, and then Claiborne Elder was Buck. So I'm pretty sure that Claiborne wasn't Buck when it was in California, but Melissa was definitely Blanche. I know that she stayed with the show until Broadway. But yeah, I say till Broadway, she was in the Broadway production, like, it's her voice that you hear on the soundtrack. So yeah, it went to Broadway and had 33 previews. And at first, ticket sales were kind of slow. And I think it's because it was an American musical. Bonnie and Clyde were obviously American. They were born in Texas, back in the 1920s. So, yeah. They were ambushed pretty much about. My maths is gonna shock me now. They were ambushed in. Oh God, I forgot where they were ambushed, but Louisiana. That were it. They were ambushed in Louisiana back in 1934. So I think it was around 90 years after. No, before. Sorry, I'm sleep deprived, so I'm just talking gobbledygook at this point. Jesus Christ, Zoe, get on with the video. So yeah, the ticket sales were kind of slow at this point, and then when they realised that the ticket sales were slow, the show announced that it would close on December 16th. No, they announced on December the 16th that the show would close on the 30th of December. And then it was originally planned as an open-ended run, and it played only 36 regular performances, making it the shortest running new musical on Broadway to that date. I know there's been more since, but to that date, there was actually, it was the shortest running show. Like, I think it was only open for pretty much a month. And it was mainly because of ticket sales, as I've just said. But yeah. And then on January 2nd, 2012, there was a statement from the director, and he said, "Never had a show close while it was still playing to audiences like a hit." So, audiences were liking the show, but the ticket sales were just not coming in. So the money, oh my God. I need to, I should have just filmed this when I was more awake. But yeah. The ticket sales were slow, so obviously the finance for the show to continue wasn't coming in because the ticket sales were being so slow. Which I'm actually surprised of, because the West End run was a hit. It was sold out. Like, everyone was demanding it got extended, wanted tours, transfers. Again, I will get into it. So, we're now going to move on to, like, the international and amateur productions of the show. So, a Japanese version of the show was written and played in Tokyo in the fall of 2011, and then it closed on January 22nd, 2012. I will not try to pronounce these names because I will mess that up. So, again, we now move on to 2013 when the show had its premiere in Korean. So a Korean version was written, and it went to Korea. Zoe, oh my god, I'm sorry about this, guys. There is just so much to read here that I'm just getting sidetracked. So, yeah, that opened in South Korea, and that ran from September 4th to October 27th of 2013. And then the opening night for that was on the 23rd of September. The day after my birthday. Anyway, irrelevant. We do not need to know that. So, it did actually have its UK premiere many, many moons ago. Back in 2014, when the College Arts Ed in London did it for, I think it was their third year show. And that run from January 17th to January 25th of 2014. And again, that was given with permission from MTI of New York. And then later on, Mount View did the same. They got permission and they did it as their third year musical. And that was in like early 2015. So then, we now head back over to America, and the first North American regional production was held in I hope I'm saying this right, Aquinas Institute at the Thomas F. Bell Auditorium, and then that was in the summer of 2014. Again, I don't know the casting for that, so I don't actually have dates for this, so I don't actually know when this was, but then a German production was done in Germany, and that was staged at Theatre Bielefeld, something like that. Something along them lines. And then a Czech production was created. Oh my god, was staged, and then that was at the DJKT Theatre Pilsen? I can never pronounce these international theatres, so I'm so sorry, guys. And that was in May of 2016. And then after that, it came back to the UK for a very short time and basically did a workshop, which saw Jamie Moscato as Clyde and Evelyn Hoskins as Bonnie, and that was staged at the Other Palace. I think they did about 3 shows. And then it came back to the UK recently this year when it did a stage concert at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane for 2 performances. That was kind of like its professional UK debut type thing. Yeah, the rest I know, so I'm going to move my laptop so I'm not constantly looking. So yeah, there was obviously the stage concert at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane, which saw Jeremy Jordan reprise his role as Clyde once again, and it was originally supposed to reunite Laura Osnes and Jeremy Jordan, but I think it was something to do with the COVID vaccines why Laura couldn't come over. Again, I'm not too sure about that, but yeah, it was originally supposed to reunite them two, and they were supposed to reprise their roles as Bonnie and Clyde. But Laura was then replaced by Frances Mayley McCann. Personally, I was buzzing about that. I love Frances. But yeah, Laura Osnes was then replaced by Frances Mayley McCann for them 2 shows, and then at the end of the second show, it was then announced that it was going to have a 13-week run at the Arts Theatre, where a full stage production was going to be held, and that saw Frances Mayley McCann reprise her role as Bonnie, and also Jordan Luke Gage joined the cast as Clyde. Again, was buzzing about that. Anyone who knows me, Jordan Luke Gage, favourite male performer, but I couldn't get enough of it. But yeah, that saw Frances and Jordan as Bonnie and Clyde, along with George Maguire as Buck. Later, Charlie McCullough took over when George went off to get married, so he had a short stint as Buck as well as covering the role of Buck. Had the honour of being at his debut, smashed it out of the park. Love his book so much. fingers crossed he returns for the new West End run. Again, I will get into that a little bit later on in the video. And it also saw Natalie McQueen as Blanche, and again, so George and Natalie actually played Buck and Blanche in the stage concert at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane, so that saw them reprise their roles. Again, the same with Francis, and it also brought in newcomers like Cleve September played Ted, Akko Mitchell played the preacher, and it also had, I'm pretty sure that Annie Guy also came over from the Theatre Royal Drury Lane production. Well, I say production, it was a stage concert. I'm pretty sure that Annie came back over as well. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that there was only about 4 cast members that stayed with the show. So, yeah, that had an absolute success at the Arts. Anyone who knows, it sold out. It literally sold out. Like, coming up to the final weeks, you literally had to beg, borrow, or steal a ticket. Like, it was impossible. Like, personally for me, I had my closing night ticket booked for months and months in advance. I was like, right, I can't get to opening, so I'm going to go to closing. And I'm glad I did. I saw the show 6 times and fell in love every single time. So, yeah. Absolute sold out run. And personally for me, this is just my own personal opinion, I feel like shows that come from America do better in the UK than they do over in America. So, like, if it's a Broadway show coming over to the West End, I feel like it does a lot better. And I feel like, I don't know, like, I feel like if it's an American musical, the British public, like, warm to it more. I don't know. But personally, I've known about Bonnie and Clyde's history for quite a while now. So I already knew everything there was to know about this show. So, yeah. The musical actually did miss, like, quite a lot of stuff out of it. Some of it is kind of sensitive, so I'm not going to mention it, but I think a lot of people do kind of know it. But yeah, the main sensitive topic is it's well covered. So in the scene just before Raise a Little Hell, everyone knows who this Ed Crowder was. But again, I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because it can get pretty sensitive. But one thing I'm surprised that they didn't cover is Clyde actually, it's pretty funny actually, and pretty genius and funny. So, when Clyde obviously went to prison, he hated it and he was abused by the officers. He was, I'm not going to say the word, but yeah. Sorry guys, I've got a really dry throat because I've been talking to you for 20 minutes. So, getting back to that. So, yeah, he didn't really want to do any work, so he did the genius idea of getting someone to cut 2 of his toes off so he could get out of going into the fields whilst he was in this prison. So that actually isn't covered in the musical, which I'm pretty surprised at. And also, those that know, Bonnie and Clyde's car caught a light, and Bonnie actually got caught in the car, and her whole leg burnt. In the musical, they do that completely different. So, when having the huge, like, police shootout in Joplin, again, I'm giving spoilers here, so I apologise for that. So yeah, when they're having, like, this huge shootout with the police in Joplin, they basically shoot their way out. Spoiler alert, Buck unfortunately don't make it out alive. Well, he does, but he only lasts, like, literally a couple of days after this shootout in Joplin. But in the musical, they like make it out that he literally only lasts about half an hour, which personally kind of does seem accurate because Buck's injuries during that were severe. Like, he had blows to the head, he was losing so much blood. And again, another thing, during that Joplin run, Blanche actually got glass in her eye and went completely blind. In one eye, not like completely blind in both eyes, but this piece of glass just shot straight into her eye. And again, that's not mentioned in the musical. But anyway, I want to talk about how they did it. So when Bonnie's leg obviously gets caught on fire, they did it so it looked like it was done from the Joplin shootout. So after that scene, Bonnie goes, Clyde, it's burning, and Blanche is dealing with Buck, obviously, because they're husband and wife. So Clyde's obviously dealing to Bonnie, and then Bonnie and Clyde go off, and then Buck, unfortunately, is then deceased. So, yeah, that's how that one's done. But there is quite a lot of, like, huge moments in Bonnie and Clyde's life that aren't really included in the musical. I'm sure that if you look it up somewhere, you will find it. But we are now going to talk about songs from this show that were replaced. So, this is gonna be long. I'm sorry. Typical. Just as I was getting on a flow, my phone runs out of storage. Anyway, as I was saying, I'm now going to talk about songs that were actually cut from the show and replaced or were just cut altogether. So, the first one that I want to talk about is one that's called Short Outer World. So, this can be found on YouTube. You can literally just type it in. Again, I think it's an absolute banger. I love it. So yeah, that one, I think it was just on a demo. I don't think it actually made it into the show, but that song is literally just Bonnie singing about working in like a diner. So Picture Show at this point didn't exist. Like, Picture Show, as we know, is where young Bonnie and Clyde are singing about what they want to be when they grow up. So young Bonnie's singing about how she wants to be like Clara Bow, and then Clyde is singing about how he wants to be like Billy the Kid. And then they come in halfway through the song, so it's kind of like going from young to them now. But yeah, I do personally think that Picture Show works a lot better in the show. But Short Outer World, if you can, go and listen to it. In fact, every cut song I talk about, I'll link in the description, so you can just click on the link and go and listen to them. Because there is actually quite a lot of cut songs that I don't think many people know about. But, yeah. Short Outer World, I don't actually think it ever saw life. I think it just made it onto a demo, but the demo was actually released. And that's got Laura Osnes on it. But yeah, I'm highly surprised that that's the take that they wanted to open the show with. Whether it was meant to open the show, I don't know. But yeah, really, really surprised at that one. So, a song, get it right, Zoe, what are my glasses doing? Hold on, guys, I do not know what is going on with this video. Yeah, again, acting really chaotic. So, another song is one that's called These Are What You Call Guns. So, that is actually what Raise a Little Hell reprise is now. So, These Are What You Call Guns is when Buck and Clyde find these guns and they start talking about them, about how amazing they are, and then they go and show them to Bonnie, and Bonnie holds them and stuff like that, and then it cuts to the sheriff's office and they're talking about the same guns. yeah, again, it is kind of a good song, but Raise a Little Hell reprise, oh my god, I love it. I absolutely love it. Like, I'm so glad that it's Raise a Little Hell reprise and not These Are What You Call Guns. So that one actually did make it into the show, but only for a short amount of time. It was in the Lajala version of the show in 2009. So that one, oh my god, oh, second my laptop can go off. I don't need it. Yeah, that one is amazing. Again, I'll link it in the description. Yeah, I think that's all I've pretty much got to say on that one. But I can see why they replaced it. Oh my god, replaced it with Raise a Little Hell reprise, because it, like, Raise a Little Hell reprise follows like certain events within the Bonnie and Clyde storyline. But we just like all jam pack it into one. And it tells it a lot better actually. Instead of just talking about these guns that they found, they're actually talking about, oh my god, they're actually talking about different like events. But yeah, that's that one, and I completely forgot the name of it. I'm gonna have to find the name of it, but I have completely forgotten what it's called. In fact, I'll come back to it, and whilst I'm talking about the next one, I'm gonna look what it's called, because I do kind of feel like I owe what it's called. Yeah. So, hold on. I better shut up talking because I'm going off subject. So I'm just gonna quickly look what this song's called. Because I do know what it is about, but I cannot remember it to save my life. That's what it's called. Right, I've got it. So, this next one is called I'll Never Leave You. So, again, that's Too Late to Turn Back Now as we know it. So, I'll Never Leave You is kind of different. So, it's Clyde saying for Bonnie to leave him, and then Bonnie's like saying, nope, I'm staying. Whereas Too Late to Turn Back Now is Bonnie saying, nope, you've screwed up, I'm out of here. And Clyde's begging for her to stay. So, I'll Never Leave You is one of them songs. It's very similar to Too Late to Turn Back Now. Like, some of the lyrics are the same. Like the opening of that song, one of the lyrics is oh my god, I forgot what it was, but it'll come to me at some point, and then I'll realise, and then think, oh my god, stupid. But yeah, I'll Never Leave You is probably one of the best cut songs I've heard from the show. Because it was weird. It was weird to hear Clyde's like interpretation of what would have happened if he would have just told Bonnie to do one, because that's originally how it was going to be done. But then Too Late to Turn Back Now is obviously Bonnie's interpretation of her saying, nope, I'm out, I'm done. That was it. The dream is done, it's over now. That was the lyric. So again, it was weird to kind of hear Clyde say that, because his dream was basically being lived by going on the run with Bonnie and basically committing all these crimes, robbing banks, killing people, robbing grocery stores, robbing auto cars. So he was kind of like living his dream, and Bonnie was basically sacrificing all hers to be on the run with Clyde, because obviously Bonnie wanted to be like this big movie star like Clara Bow, and was sacrificing all that for Clyde. Hold on, my camera's slipping again. There we go. So, that's that one. And this next one, I'm not a huge fan of, but I can see why they wanted it to be this. So, this is a song that wasn't... I think it was in the productions before it moved to Broadway. So, California and Florida. I think it was in that. And it's called I'm Ready. So that is when Clyde is in prison. So basically Raise a Little Hell as we know it. And that's just basically Clyde explaining that he wants to get out of there, how he wants to kill this Ed Crowder, and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, it is a very, very, very good song, but for that particular moment in the show, Raise a Little Hell just works so much better. And I can personally see why it got cut. And yeah, that's pretty much it on that one. And I think this is the final one. I could be wrong. I could find more. But these are the ones that I know of to date. And it's a song called The Devil. So this song actually never made it into any production. It never, ever, ever got previewed. Apart from a little concert that Frank Wildhorn did. He got the actress who was playing Bonnie's mum to do like a little interpretation of it. And it is such a beautiful song. Like, I'm surprised it got cut from the show. So that song was supposed to take place when Bonnie goes to meet her mum in the woods and then gives her some money and then she has to go. And Bonnie's mum is like begging her to stay, like, oh, just come home with me. You don't have to do this, just turn yourself in. You might get a shorter sentence if you hand yourself in now, that type of thing. So I think the concept of that was they would have this argument, then Bonnie would leave, and then this song, The Devil, would be sung. And one of my favourite lyrics in that song is, how could the devil take my daughter away? It is so powerful. Like, it is such a powerful, moving ballad that I'm surprised it got cut. I really am surprised that it did get cut, because it's just amazing. Like, again, I'll link it down below. Go and listen to it. Again, any cut songs I've not talked about, I will link down below. So, this is editing me. Completely missed out a cut song, which is one that I absolutely adore. And it's a song called I Don't Know the Way. Guys, I'm obsessed with this song. That was a song that was a song that was replaced by Dying Ain't So Bad. But it's literally the same melody, and one chorus is pretty much the same as Dying Ain't So Bad. Yeah, it's a beautiful song, absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I just wanted to include that at the end of that clip about the cut songs. Yeah, just needed to include it. But yeah, personally for me, so as you all know, Bonnie and Clyde is coming back next year in March. Francis and Jordan are returning. Buzzing. But yeah, it's going to the Garrick for a bit of a short run, only by like 2 weeks, for an 11-week run at the Garrick. Because let's be honest, I'm pretty sure that Dan Looney was getting sick of us all just saying, right, when are we getting this, when are we getting that? They're still not dropping about the cast bloody recording. Still waiting for that. Was hoping to add that onto my bloody Christmas list. Looks like I'll be adding it to next year's. But yeah. Anyway, enough about the UK cast recording. We know it's coming. Dan said it was coming on his speech at the end of the Arts run. So, yeah. Bada bing, bada bong, we will eventually get it. And also a UK tour. That's something that they need to hurry up and announce, because I'm not waiting. But, yeah. I'm sure I have missed some stuff out. I probably have, but I've just told you, like, the show history that I know of. So, yeah. Feel free to continue outing me that Jeremy Jordan did originate the role of Clyde, because apparently if you make it onto a Broadway cast recording, you have automatically originated that role. But it wasn't the case. It was just the case that Stark that Stark Sands couldn't do the California run, so they got Jeremy Jordan in, and Jeremy Jordan stayed with the show up until the end of the Broadway run. Which, don't get me wrong, Jeremy Jordan is an amazing Clyde. Like, quite a few people I spoke to who saw the Drury Lane concert version said that he was phenomenal. But yeah, he didn't originate the role, and it kind of like, it gets boring when people say, oh, yeah, he did, yeah, he did, yeah, he did. Do your research. Yep, it was Stark Sands. You can watch him perform I'll Never Leave You on YouTube. He was an incredible Clyde. I've heard an audio of the La Jolla run when Stark were in it. He was phenomenal. He was an amazing Clyde. His aggression in that, oof. But yeah. Show History Episode 1. Done. So, that was a lot to talk about. I have spoke to you guys for half an hour and I've now given myself a sore throat. But yeah, it's worth it. It is worth it. And I just hope that you guys enjoy it. But yeah. Comment your favourite shows. I'll see if I can do them. I have got a few that I'm going to talk about. I'm looking to release a new show history episode every Saturday. So yeah, we'll see how that one plans out. But yeah, let me know if I did miss anything out. If you're a fan of Bonnie and Clyde, yeah, if I have missed anything out, let me know. I'd love to hear it because again, I as I said, that was just the stuff that I know of. But yeah. Stay tuned for next week's because the show I'm going to be talking about is Heathers. Feel like it's just one that will probably get a lot of engagement because let's be honest, the Corn Nuts love that show, and it's a lot to talk about. So yeah, I'm going to get into that at some point. Well, I say some point, it'll be in next week's video. But yeah, I'm now going to shut up. I'm sorry that this video was very stuttery. Again, like I said, I had to read a lot of stuff off my notes page of stuff that I'd wrote down about the show. So, yeah. Hope you guys enjoy this. Let me know if you want me to do more than 10 episodes, by the way. If this is a series that you think you're going to enjoy, I will happily do more. Might even do a season 2 at some point. I might... Oh! I've just thought of an idea, but I'm not going to expose that yet. But, yeah. That is it from me. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all soon for another video. Bye, guys.